In 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 245, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
I don't know, can you believe it? We're back for like back-to-back weeks. It is amazing. It is amazing.
I'm sure people are frightened.
I know, the holidays are over, so we're back to doing this all the time. Although the holidays are kind of over because, I don't know if anyone follows football or anything, but the Chiefs are kicking ass and taking names, and it's kind of fun. So, AFC Championship game this weekend against the dreaded New England Patriots.
Yeah, the people in Kansas City are just going bananas right now.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You don't even care because you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, and your Seahawks shit the bed.
They did. They shit it hard, too.
Yeah, they're rebuilding, man. They're rebuilding.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know.
Or they're just bad, you know. It's hard to say. They had a few good years. They went to Super Bowl twice in a row and won one of them.
There you go. You should have won two of them, but, you know, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, you got, one of the best running backs in the league. You got first and goal at the 1. Yeah, let's throw the ball. See what happens.
Why not? That's what everybody does now. Yeah. Oh man. So you recovered from the storm. I was glad that you got power back because I was getting a little worried about you there.
Yeah, you're not as glad as I am. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're even wearing a short sleeve shirt now.
Yeah. So the Chiefs game started at 3:30 on Saturday.
Yeah.
At like 3:05, the power went out.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It didn't come back on until Monday at noon.
Wow, that's spectacular.
Yeah. When I left for work Monday morning, it was 45 degrees in the house.
Oof. Oh, that's brutal.
Every blanket we owned was on the bed.
Oh man.
It was rough.
Yeah, that well, and did you have to like run your water? Did it get cold enough in the house that you had to like turn the faucets on dripping so that you didn't have?
We did anyway. I don't know if it got cold enough to freeze the lines, but we ran them anyway.
Yeah,
just to make sure.
Yeah, I thought like there was. I was talking to some people at work about, because there's a bunch of people with power outages through Kansas City because of the weekend storm, and there was some of the people I was talking to. They're like, well, I mean, you could also like just shut the water off to the house and turn drain the lines by like opening up the pipe there. Usually, there's usually a spigot of some sort by where your main shutoff is, so you could always like open that and drain out the lines. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I guess maybe that would be. That's a lot of water that you're going to be draining out all those pipes.
That and our hot water heater is gas.
Yeah.
So the only heat we got was when we took showers in the morning. So I'm not turning that off.
Yeah, that's true. No, man, and God, man, there'd probably be times where I'd like, let's just turn the shower on really hot and get the steam going. And it could like, then we'll just sit up here in the room in like a sauna.
Exactly. Oh, even your clothes get cold, so you take them into the bathroom to steam warm them up while you're showering.
Geez. Yeah.
Because, I've got those, this isn't one of them, but I've got those polo shirts that are that Wiccan material, that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That stuff gets really cold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you put that on, and you're like, holy cow, I could cut glass with my nipples right now. So
yeah. Man, hey, next time just come down here for the day. Pick a day, come down here. We could play board games all day.
Yeah, that's what I should have done.
Yeah, you could have. We had football on the
We,
TV. We could have had board games on the table, and it would have been good times.
yeah,
We,
my bad.
yeah,
Yeah, so
I got a nice big
it snowed.
fireplace.
It had snowed, and we had been out, and I had shoveled, and it never once occurred to me that the power might go out. So I didn't pay attention to
Yeah.
cell phone battery life or anything like that. And then the power went off, so I called KCP&L. And when I got off the phone with them, I looked down and like, oh, I'm almost out of battery and no way to charge my phone. Great.
Oh, that's awesome.
So so I had to unhook my garage door from the garage door opener, and I backed the car out into the driveway and then sat there listening to a book on CD while my phone charged on the USB.
Yeah. Well,
First world problems right there.
I was gonna say you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, so I didn't lose power, but I did have this happen, and I am going to give me 1 second here. We're gonna actually I can do this. Give me one. Oh wow, that's an ugly picture.
Yikes.
People, yeah, yeah. Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Nobody wants to see that.
Oh no, let's just turn that off. That's not what I wanted. Let me get um window capture. Yep, okay. Oh, yep. That's
Now it's
not
all
what I
dark.
wanted. It's all black. I'm trying to do this on the fly, people. Just bear with me. Bear with me. Where is it?
That's right. Special effects by accident.
Yeah, hey, that's what we do. There it is. That's what I wanted. Oh, come on. Let me. I won't do it. Never mind. Scratch that.
What were you trying to do?
Trying to show a picture.
Oh.
I was trying to show a picture of the front of my house with a massive tree across the driveway. It was not my tree. It was my neighbor's tree. Didn't fall in his yard. It fell in mine.
At least it didn't fall on your house or a car or
Right?
anything.
Yeah. No, it split his car. It fell on each in front of it and behind it. It did not fall
Oh,
on it.
really?
Yeah. Um,
He's a lucky boy.
right. Yeah. It was one of those where, and it was kind of funny because we were standing outside. I had just got done cleaning the driveway off and a couple of neighbors' driveways, and um, so we were just sitting in the driveway talking and drinking a beer, and the kids were off playing underneath my big oak tree in the front yard. And this is a pin oak. It's solid. It's not coming down. But they heard this crack up the street, and we looked up and we watched branches fall down out of a tree. And we're like, and it was a
Yeah.
pretty good branch. And and of course the kids started freaking out, going, "Oh, is this tree gonna fall?" Pointing at my oak tree, and I'm like, "No, no, no, that one's fine. Like that tree is not coming down. That's hardwood. That's a solid tree that is just straight as an arrow. Like there's no spots where you're gonna be losing major branches
Yeah.
out of."
If this tree falls down, it's the apocalypse.
Right. I point to the tree behind me. I'm like, now if any tree's gonna fall down, it's gonna be this one, which is a Bradford pear, soft tree. And after I get done saying that, we hear this crack, and we look up, and we look back at that tree because it sounded like it was coming from behind us. And I look at that tree, and I start to see the branches come, and my wife and I both start running because we're standing underneath where the tree like is falling towards.
Holy cow.
And so we take off running, and as it hits the ground, we are just out of range of it, and the kids just started like, they're like, first they were in awe. When they got done, they're like, that was the coolest image ever. It looked like a movie avalanche scene where the when the tree hit the ground, the snow just went flying everywhere, and it was just like a white cloud behind us. I'm like, man, I wish you were recording that on your phone. That would have been so cool. But it wasn't recorded, so everyone's just gonna have to take my word for it. But
Yeah,
it
you had to
was,
run for your life. No time to record.
yeah, it was really cool. So, but we had to, unfortunately, the tree was blocking both sides of the driveway, so we couldn't get either car out. So that afternoon, we had a friend of ours was coming over to watch the Chiefs game. This was right before the Chiefs game. He was coming over to watch the game, so I had him bring his chainsaw. I asked him if he'd bring his chainsaw, and we chopped it up enough that we could pull the branches out of the way to get to the garage door. So there was at least that. But yeah, that was our
Yeah.
excitement from the snow was trees falling.
Yeah. Whatever happened in our neighborhood to knock the power out, we didn't see it, thankfully. A couple of branches from my neighbor's tree fell in my backyard, but they're not like a full tree or anything like that. I'm gonna have to use the chainsaw to cut them up, but they're not hurting anything right now.
Yeah,
So they're there to stay until the weather turns nice enough that I feel like I can go out there and do something about it.
yeah,
Plus,
yeah,
I'm kind of hoping the city does that thing where they say, oh, because of the storm, take all your branches out to the street and then we'll come along and chop them up because
right.
they've done that before. I'm hoping they do that. Then I've got a couple of branches that I'm going to chainsaw and pretend that they were broken in the storm and put them out there as well.
There you go. Yeah, Gardner's talking about doing something like that. I've heard Olathe is doing that. So yeah, they're of course that could all they really could they might be holding off and waiting till after this weekend because we're supposed to get another, you know, 12 to 24 inches of snow this weekend. So
Yeah, it's bullshit. I'm tired
yeah.
of winter.
Hey, if it's gonna at least if it's gonna do it like that. I don't want this like quarter of an inch, half inch bullshit that just makes stupid people out on the roads. If I want it to be enough to where they cancel everything, you get to stay home, prop your feet up, and people just stay out of the way.
Problem is, it's supposed to hit during the Chiefs game, isn't it?
It no, because the Chiefs
No,
game's
that's
not
on
till Sunday
Sunday.
night this time,
Yeah.
so we should be
So
good
just
for the
it'll
Chiefs
just
game.
be cold.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be stupid cold, like high in the fives. Um, you know,
I in the single digits.
right? So,
Yeah,
oh,
I talked to somebody in our Denver office, and when I was a kid, Denver's weather was always crap in the wintertime.
right?
Always. You know, we lived in eastern edge of Colorado and we'd watch the Denver news and there was always a bad snowstorm or high winds or something like this. And I always thought, never want to live in Denver. The weather blows.
Yeah,
So I talked to a coworker today who works out of our Denver office, and I was saying, "Yeah, I'm just tired of winter." She's like, "Really? It's been gorgeous here. It's been sunny and 60 degrees." It's like, all right, this has got to be climate change or something because
yeah.
Denver,
Global warming.
Denver's like the armpit of the Rockies, and it usually is terrible weather. But she said she's lived there for a few years, and the weather's been perfect every winter. And it's like, well, the times they are changing.
Yeah, they are. Yes, they are. Well, enough of this weather forecast bullshit. Let's get to the games.
Let's do
We
that.
got lots of board games to talk here, so we got a couple of them here. So bear with us as we get through this. First game, Kip, you're up. This is you got this over the holidays, right? Or did you
I
get it
did.
before the holidays?
I got it the week before Christmas.
Oh, there you go. That counts as a
So week
holidays.
before Christmas and all through the house. Um, so when I'm up late by myself, wife has gone to bed, I usually either play a video game or watch YouTube videos. Well, on this particular night, I was watching YouTube videos. One of my favorite groups, I guess you'd call them groups, is a group of people that play board games called Game Night.
Yeah.
They're part of the board game geek community, and I like watching their stuff. They'll give you a rules explanation, and then they'll just do a playthrough. And they played a game called Space, space. And I
Awesome.
watched the video, and I'm like, thanks, bastards. Now I'm going to have to buy this game. But I'm glad I did. I like this game quite a bit. So we'll go through the basics, I guess. It
Okay.
says it's 60 minutes of playing time, so it's an hour game, so it's not super long.
No.
2 to 5 players, pretty good.
Nice.
Ages 14 and up. And when I first saw that, I'm like, really, 14 and up? It doesn't seem like that hard of a game.
Mm-hmm.
But after playing it a few times, I could see why they've put the age up there a little bit. Because this game is what I would call an engine builder.
Okay.
And I don't mean they're building faster than light engines for a spaceship. I mean you are building resources and stacking things together to eventually do all the stuff you need for the end game.
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is this game, you are the head of a space base. Ta-da! That's the name. And
It's amazing.
you start off with a board that has 12 slots for 12 spaceships. And you're given your starting 12. And then you have basically 3 resources. You have your money. They just call it credits. I was hoping they'd come up with a better name than just credits, but it's credits. You have income, and you have victory points. So you're using your income and your credits to buy more spaceships, build this engine to earn victory points, because victory points is the deciding factor in this game. So the way the game works is you'll have cards. I guess for those who will watch the YouTubes, I'll show a card like this. This is a spaceship.
Cool.
This will be in one of your slots on your space base. Up here in the corner, it tells you it goes in slot 9. So specific ships go in specific slots. And then down below in the blue, that is if you activate this ship on your turn. This one you get 1 income. So you get to move the income slider up 1. If you send this ship into space on somebody else's turn, you can do the red if your ship is activated, and that is 3 credits to spend on your turn. So what does that all mean? Well, like I said, you have 12 slots in your space base with 12 ships in it. And then you have 2 dice. Here's your 2 dice. I'm such a nerd, I put them back in the bag they came in. Not like dice need to be bagged. That's just 2.
I bag mine too, so it's okay.
It's just 2 6-sided dice. On your turn, you roll the dice. So say you rolled 7, a 6 and a 1. You can choose to use the total of the dice, the 7, and activate the ship in dock 7, or you can split the dice and activate the ship in slot 1 and the ship in slot 6.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the game, you're going to split the dice because usually
you need to get you need to get as many ships out as you can, right?
Well, no, you need to get as much money as you can. Oh. And so most of the time the ships earn 1 credit at the beginning of the game. So if you split your dice up, you get 2 credits instead of 1.
Okay, makes sense.
And then at the end of your turn, you take what credits you have, and then there's a pool of ships, levels 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, the 3s are better, but they're more expensive. Level 1s are cheaper, and they're not as cool. So you buy a ship. the hard part of this game is, say you earned 5 credits, and the ship you're buying is only 3 credits. There's no change. Once
Oh.
you purchase, all the credits you have go to 0.
Oh.
That's where the income comes into play. So once it goes to 0, at the end of the turn, you move it up to where the income token is.
Okay.
So as you earn income, you don't zero out anymore. You may end up at 2, 3, or 4, and you start to turn off with that much credit because that's your income for that round.
Okay.
So once you buy a ship, you take the ship. So say you bought a ship and it goes in slot 7. You take the other ship that's in slot 7 there previously out. You put your new one in. You take the one that's in that slot. You turn it over so the red is the top, and then you slide it under the board so just the red part sticks out. And that ship is now in space. You've sent it off into outer space to do its thing.
Oh, cool.
The reason you want to do that is every ship that's in space, you can activate on another player's turn if they roll the numbers on the dice you need for that ship.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So this was a thing I really liked about this game is even if it's not your turn, you have something to do.
So it's important to pay attention while other people are going because it can benefit you.
Absolutely. So, and if you have multiple ships out into space and that number comes up, you do each one of the red things.
Nice.
So you can really stack that up to do a lot of things on somebody else's turn. So you're going to want to buy ships as much as you possibly can. You want to send all these ships out into space that you can get. And you want to start earning money so you can buy better ships that have victory points. And then you start racking up your victory points. There's a first player token that you randomly decide who's the first player. And that's important because at the point where somebody reaches 40 victory points, it's one of those things where everybody gets the equal amount of turns. So if player 1 reaches 40 points on his turn, they've gotten one more turn than everybody else, so you finish the round. If the last person finishes that 40 and the next player to go is player 1, everybody's had the same amount of turns. The game is just over.
Makes sense.
So
like
it's just
baseball.
there. Yeah, so it's just there to make sure everybody gets the same amount of turns. At the end, you add up who has the most victory points. There's your winner. When the game first starts, you don't move that victory point token hardly at all. You're like, well, it's going to take us freaking forever to get to 40 because I've gone like 6 times and haven't moved it once. But it is an engine builder, and as you buy more expensive cards, you start getting cards that earn victory points, and then you get them in the right spots. You know, there's that window, 6 and 7 will come up the most because there's so many ways to, especially 6, to roll a 6. There's 1 and 5, 2 and 4, 3 and 3. And then on top of all that, every time you just roll a 6, you can just decide, I'm going to use number 6. So 6 comes up a lot. So you want to have all your good stuff in those slots.
Okay.
12 is obviously the hardest one to roll.
Sure.
But it also has the best rewards. So sometimes you're looking at it and it's like, the only card I can afford is for slot 12, but we never roll a 12. Go ahead and buy it. You're going to, one day, one roll, hopefully,
You'll get
will
it,
work.
yeah.
And there's these cards that you can charge up by, if that card comes up, you take this clear cube and put it on there showing that it's charged up. And then next time it's your turn, or if it's the type that you can do it on anybody's turn, you can activate it. And there's cards like, say that one is on slot 9. And somebody rolls a 9, that one may say, well, instead of 9, you could use 8 or 10 instead. But you have to use the charge.
Right.
So there's a way to stack that to where if somebody rolls a 9, you could use the 12. because you've got enough of those in a row that, so
Gotcha.
it's pretty cool like that. There's a lot of little nuances to the game. There's also cards with large amounts of victory points in them, like anywhere from 8 to like 20 victory points. They're very expensive and they're permanent. So if you buy that for like slot 4 is now done. You get those victory points on your turn, and then on your turn, if a 4 comes up, you get nothing. The ships you have in space on slot 4, you can still use on somebody else's turn, but once you
You can
buy
use
the big
4.
victory point, you close that section of your base. You can't buy any more ships for slot 4. You don't get any more rewards on your turn for slot 4. So you got to be very judicious when you finally decide to pull the trigger on one of those. Um,
Gotcha.
there's more strategy than that. Sometimes you'll just hold your money and not spend it because you want a more expensive card.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a risk to that. You don't get as many cards into space. Somebody may buy the one right before you can buy it, the one you've been saving up your money for. So you really have to pay attention to where everybody else's resources are and what you think they might do, and kind of look at the cards out there and like, oh crap, I think they're going to want that card. I better buy it now, kind of thing. So played it twice. I've won both times, so that's also a bonus.
Yeah, that's unusual.
I feel bad for the people who have played and lost, because losing to me should be embarrassing.
Right?
But everybody that I brought it out, except for one person, has loved this game. One person went, yeah, it's okay. So it's not for everybody.
Sure. It
But
sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like the kind of game that I would really enjoy. It's not quite deck building, but kind of like I like the buying cards idea. I like that aspect, and the dice rolling mechanic to it on what things are going on. That to me, I think is kind of cool. Like I like that idea. It's really
yeah, and I like the fact, I already said this once, but I like the fact that you have something to do on other people's turns.
yeah, yeah,
So there were times where I had no money, and then by the time it came to my turn, before I even rolled my own dice, I had like 10 credits
right.
because people just happened to roll dice that got me more money. And it's like, sweet.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, it's really cool. So, and it was like a $40 game, so it's not really
No,
expensive.
it's not too
I
bad.
bought it at my friendly neighborhood game store, so I paid $40 for it. I
Right.
think you can get it on Amazon for less than 35.
Sure.
But every now and then I like to buy games at my local game store so they don't go out of business.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're
So,
not fortunate enough to be in a place where you have a local game store, Amazon has it, I think, for $32.99 or something
yeah,
like that.
there you go.
So it's not a huge deal. And the funny thing is when I bought it, everybody that worked at the store were like, there's an expansion coming out for that, right? And it's like, yeah, I've heard. And then I go to buy it, and the guy's like, there's an expansion coming out for that. It's like, yeah, apparently there's an expansion coming out for this, and people are pretty excited about it. So,
That's cool. That is really cool. So Space Base, little board game geek summary for it. The community, you had said that the age on the box is 14 plus. Community actually drops that down a little bit. It says 10 plus.
yeah, I
Um,
think your oldest would have no problem with
oh
this
yeah,
game.
he could easily play that, and it's kind of funny that it's 14 plus because the game that I'm reviewing today or talking about today it says is 14 plus as well. And my son, my oldest, has played this game both by himself and with me. So he has played this game multiple times and has loved it at 14, and it's rated at 14 plus. So either my kid is really smart, which every dad
Which I
says
think
their
he is.
yeah, every dad says their kid's really smart, so I'm not gonna say that. But or some of these games really they say 14 plus, but the mechanics are simple enough that somebody younger can pick them up. Board Game Geek says Space Base can be played by 10 plus. It says 2 to 5 players. They said it's best with 3 to 4. So that's they got that going for them. It's published by Alderac Entertainment Group,
Yep,
And
AEG.
yeah, the and also the weighting, the complexity rating on Board Game Geek is a 2.17, so not bad at all.
That's why I'm surprised it's rated at 14 plus,
Yeah,
because 2.17 isn't super complex,
no, that's
and
pretty
this
low.
game isn't. This game is not. You can teach somebody to play this game in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I like about
that sounds really cool. I'm definitely gonna have to check this one out. I like the card drafting crafting mechanic type thing. The way you explained it, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then I am also a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of those type of games. I like that. It's fun
it.
for
Yeah,
me.
next time we're in the same room at the same time, we'll play.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do think you'll really like it. I highly recommend this game. It's easy to teach. It plays in an hour or less. If you got 3 people, you can play it in less than an hour easily.
very cool.
You get it done in about 45 minutes, especially if everybody's played it before. You can
Hmm.
knock this pretty quick. The art's pretty cool. Um, it's not a huge box. It's like half the size of a normal game box.
Okay.
Well, maybe not half the size, maybe 3/4, of the
Yeah.
size of a regular game box. So yeah, it's got a lot of pluses. In fact, I couldn't even think of a con of the game to say, hey, I don't like this about the game. I haven't found anything about the game I don't like yet.
Very cool. Very cool. So there you go. Space Base, everybody. Go buy Space Base. Um,
And
now,
apparently, there's an expansion coming out for it.
right? There's an expansion coming out. So you talked about the size of your game and the box, and that is actually one of the reasons why I purchased the game that I purchased here. That I got this for the kids for Christmas, and and by the kids I mean me and the kids. Because why buy something for my kids that I don't want to play, especially a board game, because I'm gonna get stuck playing it with them. So if I buy them a crappy board game, which I did one time, I got stuck playing it a lot, and it drives me up the wall. Anyway, so this game is a lot of fun. It is called One Deck Dungeon, and one of the reasons why I got this is because it is for 1 or 2 players, which I find a lot of the times the more players you get involved in a game, the usually the bigger and more complex the game gets. This game is here is the box for it, and by comparison, there's my hand. So if you're looking on YouTube, this box is the dimensions of this box. I say roughly, well, here, cell
It's like a
phone
3x5 card.
box.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
if you ever
is,
played any of the Tiny Epic games, it's the same size box as
yeah,
those.
there you go. I was trying to think of a comparison. Yeah, Tiny Epic. It is this is an awesome size box, and it's about as deep as 2 decks of cards. So again, this is 1 to 2 players, ages 14 plus, but Board Game Geek has again got this down at 10 plus, and like I said, my 9-year-old plays this game and loves it. Playtime is 30 to 45 minutes. There is also an expansion for this game that allows you to play with up to 4 players. So,
Okay.
um, Board Game Geek says that this is best played with 1 player. I can see that because playing this by yourself would be a lot of fun. Playing with 2 players though is harder, believe it or not. 1 player is relatively easy. And by relative, I mean it is still hard and you will still lose, but 2 players is even harder. Partly because of just the sheer, well, let's get into the game and I'll explain exactly why. So you start this game off with, first thing you got to do, you got to pick your hero. This is the dungeon crawl. You're going to be crawling through dungeons, so you get awesome things like a rogue, and all these are backwards, but the art is awesome. I love the art
Yeah.
on this. You could be a rogue, a mage, an archer, a warrior, or a paladin. So there's 5 different ones to choose from. Um, Believe it or not, all the artwork is girls, and I think that's actually kind of cool. I don't have a problem with that at all. And But like the paladin is just cool looking. I mean, look at that. That is awesome looking. I
I
I
do like
want
that.
I want that armor. Um, but the cool thing with these hero cards, one side is for one player, the other side is for two players. So really easy. If you're playing one player, the only difference in them, their heroic feats are the same, their special abilities are all the same, but what is different is their attributes. So each hero has 4 stats. They have health, gotta have health, strength, agility, and magic. The one player has higher stats than the two player, and that is because if you have two players, you have dice for each of you. Um, you are the object is to roll dice for your different traits. Use those dice to defeat monsters, disarm traps as you move deeper and deeper through the dungeons. A game consists of a deck of monsters, which is literally a deck of 50 cards. It is awesome.
So
Uh,
is it like a one deck dungeon, perhaps?
See what I did there? Um, and and the artwork on these cards are awesome because the back of the cards is a door.
Yeah,
So when you lay them
love
out,
that.
it's each room is you lay them face down and it looks like a door, and you get to open the door and see what's there. Super cool, a lot of fun. Each game consists of a boss and 3 levels of the dungeon, which means you go through the deck of cards 3 times. Now, I said this game is played in 30 minutes. You could probably play it in less than 30 minutes. I think Reese and I, the first time we played it in 30 minutes and we didn't even know the rules. So, knowing the rules and walking into it, Reese played it by himself, and I think he finished it in about 15 or 20 minutes. Now,
Nice.
Reese likes to fudge the rules a little bit so that he wins.
Who doesn't?
So, especially when you're playing by yourself. Who cares? So when you play with two players, it's a cooperative. You're both trying your turns happen simultaneous and you're trying to work together to defeat the monsters. Um, once you get through 3 levels of the deck, you have to fight a boss, like a dragon. And while you're in the dragon, while you're going
While
through
you're
the
in the jag.
while you're in the dragon, while you're in the dungeon trying to get to the dragon, you have to go through the dragon's cave. That's what the dungeon is. And so each bad guy that you have, there's 5 different guys here, ranging from difficulties between 1 and 3. 1 being easiest, 3 being the hardest. But
Okay.
each boss has a level that you're going through, and so it adds different things that you have to deal with on each floor of the dungeon. Now, to get back to this dungeon and this deck of 50 cards, this is the thing that I think is really kind of cool and scared me at first. You have to go through this deck 3 times before you get to the boss. If you've played games like Hearthstone or things like that, you get that deck of cards, those monsters you have to get through before you can find the Hearthstone. And it's Thunderstone. That's what I'm thinking. Not Hearthstone. Thunderstone. That's what you have, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Thunderstone. I get it mixed up. Um, you're trying to get to that Thunderstone. That can take a while. But with these 50 cards, you go through them lightning quick. Almost too quick. Because you need to defeat monsters and defeat traps in order to increase the stats of your character, to give you more abilities, and to give you experience so that you can level up your character. But each turn consists of only 2 steps: time passing and exploring or entering a room. The time passing mechanic of this game is genius. You discard cards off the top of the deck. So at the start of a turn, 2 time passes. So 2 cards get discarded at the very beginning. Each time you defeat a monster, you have to discard 2 cards off the top of the deck. Each time you
Okay.
go and explore a new room and add more rooms to look at, 2 cards go off the deck. So you start going through this deck quicker and quicker. There are traps inside here. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Yeah, here's a perfect example. There's a force wall trap that you could run into. In order to defeat this trap, you have to lose time. So you lose cards. If you want to blast through the force wall, it takes you 2 turns. 2 time. So 2 cards. So you're discarding cards off the deck. If you decide, oh, that's too hard, we should just go around it, that's going to cost you 3 time to get around it.
I get
So
it.
so you
Yeah.
have to actually think about, okay, well, how do we want to approach this? Because once you get to the bottom of the deck, you go to the next level of the dungeon, which means the dungeon gets harder. There are harder layer difficulties that you have to beat, and it gets you closer to the boss at the end of the dungeon. The first time Reese and I played through this, you can level your character up to level 4. We were only level 2 when we got to the boss at the end.
Dang.
We went through way too quickly, and we got smoked. We lost. The dragon kicked our ass very quickly. So it's it's an incredible, it's an incredible mechanic, this idea of discarding cards off the deck, that I find just a blast and changes the idea of this game by so much. So um, we got to talk about how you defeat these monsters
Okay, let's
and
do
these
that.
traps, because that is also part of what is very fun and challenging, and that is the part where I say, okay, well, this explains why they put this at 4+. Let me find a monster. I keep drawing traps, and the traps are a little easier. So all the traps have 2 ways to defeat them. You can either go around them or disarm them, or you can just run through it and hope for the best. Traps usually hurt you or they slow you down, that kind of thing. But monsters all have these numbers on their card. They say some of them can only be defeated by certain things. They all have consequences for either defeating them or not defeating them. Because you can enter a room. So I said you had 2 turns, or 2 phases. Step 2 is explore, enter a room. When you explore, you take 4 cards from the deck and you lay them out face down in front of you. Each one of those is a room. That's the end of that turn. If you don't have 4 cards out in front of you, or you need more cards out in front of you, you explore and add more cards out there. You can only have 4 as a maximum, but as you defeat monsters, those cards go away. Those rooms get cleared out, so you can add more to it. But that takes a turn. So then you start back up, discard your 2 cards off the top, go back through and open a door and fight a monster. Here's where the awesome little, you had 2 dice, I got a few more than 2.
Yeah, there's a couple there.
So you've got, I told you about the attributes for the characters: strength, agility, magic. You have dice
Right.
that match up with each one of those. Yellow for strength, purple for agility, blue for magic. On your turn, when you're going to defeat a monster, you take the number of dice for your attribute. So you'll take the paladin, the first player paladin that I'm looking at here, that just happens to be sitting on top, has 3 strength, so I'll take 3 yellow dice. has 1 agility, so I'll take a purple dice, and has 3 magic, so I'll take 3 blue dice. That's my dice pool. I roll those dice. Whatever numbers come up, that's what comes up. The monster has different attributes as well. So the skeleton that I drew here has 2 boxes that are for magic, 3 boxes for strength, and 1 for agility. That actually just like almost exactly matched my paladin. Each one of those abilities has a number to it. You have to roll that number on the dice in order to defeat that monster, or that attribute of the monster. You have to defeat all the attributes in order to defeat the monster. So now you can see the difficulty in this just a little bit. This one monster has 6 attributes. I roll 7 dice. If I don't roll correctly, I have a hard time defeating these monsters. That's where this game becomes challenging and more complicated, and adding that extra layer. So in this case, I need to roll a 2 or higher of magic in order to defeat that box, to be able to check off that box and say I defeated it. Different things. If you don't check all the boxes, you do not defeat the monster, and there are consequences to that. So each one of the boxes has a consequence to it. In this case, the skeleton, 4 of the 6 boxes are time. So if you don't defeat the monster, you have to discard cards off the deck, which means you get closer and closer to the boss at the end of the battle, at the end of the dungeon. I feel like I'm reading the monster at the end of this book. So it is a lot of fun. There adds some complexity, which each of your characters have special abilities you can use, like the paladin. For every 2 hearts that you lose, you prevent 1, but you cannot prevent damage otherwise. So it allows you to do little different tricks, and helps you. Some of them, like the rogue, I think, is one that allows you to re-roll dice. It says your partner can re-roll any or all of their 1s, which is really helpful. That's the 2-player one. The 1-player one allows you, when you flee, you may add 1 door to the dungeon if under the door limit. So it allows you to explore without having to waste time exploring. But lots of little cool tricks that you can do to add a little bit of flair to just the dungeon delving mechanic. This game is a lot of fun. It is a whole bunch of fun, and something that is simple enough to play. The idea was that I could take this on an airplane and be able to play this at airports, because we're traveling this summer, and we'll be flying and renting a car and doing some traveling that way. And I needed something that could fit in a backpack and easily to take on a plane. Doesn't take up a whole bunch of space, and can easily be played in small spaces. This is definitely one of those games. It is nice. Way fun. And if you just, if you want to make this more, you can even play this game in campaign mode. So in campaign mode, you use one of these cards here that they give you a whole bunch of them. It's a piece of paper that allows you to put your hero's name and your name. You get to check off what you're doing. So there are levels, there are check boxes here for healing, for combat, for dungeons, for the basics. So in one of these, it's start each game with any one basic skill, and this is any dungeon level. So you could check off just by starting the game, you get a basic skill, and you check off one of these boxes. There's 6 of them here, so once you check off 6 boxes, you can clear that ability and you can move to the next level. The next level for that is durability, which gives you 1 extra health. So your character basically gets stronger each game by checking off different things and battling different dungeons, and um, so it even has all the boxes. It has all the bosses at the bottom, so you can check off which ones you defeated. So you can defeat all of them. Um, it it's a lot of fun. This game is a lot of fun. And
I'll have to totally agree with you because I've actually played this game.
oh, have you? Nice.
Yeah, so we have a game in common. Can you believe it?
There you go. It
Yeah, it was a while ago, so it was good to hear the rules again because it's like it's been a while since I played that, but I remember enjoying it quite a bit.
yeah, that's this is another one of those where you you can play this thing in no time flat. Um, it's it's complicated enough to when you sit down you want to work together, but simple enough that you don't have like when I'm playing this with when I'm playing this with my kid, with one of my kids, with Reese. Conley hasn't played it yet, but he might be a little too young. He's only 6. But when you're playing with them, I don't have to do all the thinking. Sometimes when I'm playing these cooperative games with the boys, I have to do a lot of the critical thinking because they're not thinking big picture. This game does not require big picture. It is monster of the week. It's monster at the time. You deal with that and you move on. There's some
Okay.
strategy that you can deal with on a larger scale, like, hey, if we don't, should we really fight him or should we just run away and not deal with the consequences? Because maybe one of us is lower in health than the other one. Um, whatever it be. But for the most part, anything that I was thinking of, he was already thinking of it, and it was a nice chance to bounce ideas back and forth off each other, trying to figure out how to use your dice in certain ways. So it's like, oh well, because you roll at the same time, and and then you get to pick your dice on which one goes where. Well, there was many times where I'm like, okay, well I can use this one here, and he's like, whoa, wait, hold on, I could use that one there, and then you could use yours here. I'm like, oh yeah, that does work better. Um, so it works really well that way. I like it. This has become one of my go-tos, and the fact that it plays in 30 minutes is perfect for my busy life. Because being able to sit down like uh, after coming home from soccer practice or whatever, and we only have a short period of time, we can break this game out, have it set up and played in 30 minutes or less. So
Yeah, it's easy to teach too, which is really nice.
yeah, yeah. Now the one complaint that I have, well, there's a positive too. They do a really good job with giving you this turn reference card, which is actually part of game setup because you use that to mark off like which floor you're on your scenario card.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's right. Yeah.
so that's really kind of cool. I like that idea. So it's not just sitting out there. But my complaint is the rule book is small, which it needs to be. It's got to fit in this small box. But the rules are a little. Um, it's not organized in a way that I would organize it. But
Okay.
that doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means they're harder for somebody like me to be able to read and comprehend. It's a lot of, okay, well, you read through this part and then you got to kind of, you know, you read through it and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, that really refers back to this back here, and you got to kind of jump back and see how those match up, or, um, you're reading through it and you're like, oh, well, and at this point you do something on page, 10 pages on down the road. It's like, so then you got to like jump that far in, and then you got to remember to jump back and continue on with the turn, to understanding, to making sure you're doing stuff in the right order. But other than that, I mean, the rules are not complicated. It's just understanding them and making sure you're doing stuff in the right way. Because this game, like I said, Reese played this by himself, and he likes to tweak the rules a little bit. The rules, there's enough little things, like if you don't do this, you have to do this before you do this. And if you don't do that, and you do it in the backwards order, it makes the game a little bit easier. And I'm sure he has done that a few times.
Gotcha.
But that's, no, you got to know your rules. So you just got to know the rules.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it's this is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I recommend it. That's One Deck Dungeon. Let's see, Board Game Geek, little stats on that. Complexity rating of 2, so it's right up there with your space. This is by Asmodee Games, Asmodee Games. There's also
Asmodee.
there's a whole bunch of others that made this game too. It's all over the place.
It's been around.
It has. But yeah, I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. And I recommend it.
Me too. I think we can agree on that game. I don't know.
I want to get the expansion for it because I want to see like it. The rule, and that's the other thing. It's kind of funny, and I'm sure this is because this is a later printing of this game. But the rule book that I have actually has the rules for the expansion in it, and they're different.
Oh, really?
They're colored differently, so that as you're like going through it, it actually tells you at the beginning, if you see this part of it and you're not playing with this expansion, don't worry about it. Just move on. But if you are playing with
nothing
the expansion,
to see here, just move on.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, well that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's got them in there, and I kind of want to be able to. I'm not in a huge hurry to get it, but some of the stuff that it adds to it, I think could make the game a lot more fun. Not more fun, add you a different twist to the game. And once Conley is old enough that I think he could comprehend and play this game really well, then I want to get the expansion so that all 3 of us can play. That's my thoughts.
Heck yeah.
More than
the way to do it.
Alrighty, well, that gets us to where we need to wrap this show up. You got anything else?
So.
Anything else you want to throw out there?
Everything. Not really. I'm tired of this weather, but we already covered that.
Yeah.
We have game night Thursday. We'll see what games we play. Since it's after the first of the year, everybody's bringing their Christmas game, so hopefully I'll get to try some new stuff, get to talk about some new things.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have some. We're gonna have some more episodes here talking about games because this is only one of the games that I got over the Christmas holiday, and so we will definitely be talking about the other ones as well. I think I've played all of the games at least once, and a couple of them I've already played 3 or 4 times. So
nice.
Yeah, we played a lot of board games over the holiday, and I have a feeling this weekend we're going to be playing some more, especially if we get another storm. So
yeah, the board game guy, and I got fewer games than most people, so
that's just because you have so many of them to begin with.
That's beside the point.
Yeah, oh, I have started building up my library on Board Game Geek, and I think I'm up to 25, I think. And I've gone through the ones that are actually like decent Board Game Geek worthy games because I have a lot of games in there that I shouldn't like Jenga. I have like 4 copies of Jenga, so you know, party games like that.
Yeah. I have 140 games on my list, but some of them are like a couple of versions of Monopoly,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
games if I brought them to board game night, I'd be banned for the rest of my life. So,
right. Yeah, I've got a few of those. I got a lot of those actually. Um, oh, one thing that I need to put out there because there's a little tease for next week. We have a guest that has not been on the show for a long time. Where Bill from Prolific Games will be joining us next week for the next episode of Geekvice, and I'm going to pry out of him information about the new Kickstarter that is going to be coming from them on what looks like an expansion or add-on to Flapjacks and Sasquatches. So
nice.
he teased it on Twitter. If you didn't see it, go check out Prolific Games on Twitter at Prolific Games, and or you can check us out at Geekvice because I retweeted it on Geekvice. But yeah, they did a little tease on one of the cards to come, and it was a card called Dynamite. So I I want to know more because Flapjacks and Sasquatches is a staple in this household. So
Well, what I like about Prolific games, and you mentioned it when you were talking about One Deck Dungeon, is and I have one of their games in my work backpack. It
mm-hmm.
goes with me.
Yeah.
So if somebody's like, "Man, I wish we had a game," it's like, "Oh, speaking of which, I actually have one." So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, love it. So be sure to tune back in next week when we got Bill on, and he's going to tell us about what's coming up from Prolific Games. It'll be a lot of fun. Be a good time. Bill is always fun to have on the show and is very insightful with his
so I'm
snarky.
guessing there's no John again.
I don't know. I haven't heard from John, so I don't know if John will be on or not. But John is like, new papa and like crazy running around. I follow him on Facebook. Him and I are that friends on Facebook, and so I see all the stuff he posts, and it's usually a lot of his little one doing
Yeah,
crazy
it's a lot of
things.
baby pics. Yep.
Yeah, so um
Yeah.
I'm
He's gonna turn. They have a game called Flapjacks and Sasquatches. He's turning into the Sasquatch. There's been sightings, but there's real no proof that he exists.
right, right. And so yeah, if John listens to this one before next week, I know he listens to the show at least some. I don't know if he's caught up or not. But yeah, hopefully he hears this and maybe he just shows up on his own. Doesn't even
Just
tell
to
us.
prove he exists.
Yeah, doesn't even tell us, just shows up. So stay tuned next week for that one. All right. Here we go. We're wrapping this up. Go check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Go follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice. Follow us on Twitter, like I said before. You can follow me at Geekvice. You can follow that man at Kip Killigan. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's a good way to find all this stuff. You can click the notifications, find out when we go live on these things, and you can come chat with us in the chatter rooms while we're recording. And of course, as always, you can reach us by email at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.